Chapter 1. The Red Numbers. The fluorescent light of the hospital flickered over the financial spreadsheets Edward Vance had called urgent. His fingers moved across columns of numbers with robotic precision, but his gaze drifted every minute to the bed where Clara, his 7-year-old, slept tangled in tubes. Leukemia had turned her peach blossom cheeks into pale shadows. When the wall clock struck 3:17, something inexplicable happened. A pulsating red digit materialized over the girl's chest. 7. Edward rubbed his eyes, blaming exhaustion, until he saw another number hovering over the elderly man in the next bed. 001. Before he could react, the heart monitor's alarm blared as the old man exhaled a sigh that smelled of mothballs. Edward staggered back, knocking over a chair that clattered to the floor. In the sudden silence of the ICU, only the clock's ticking remained, insistent as a bony finger tapping glass. His pulse raced when he noticed every patient now bore floating numbers, all except him. A memory erupted. His father at the wheel, the speedometer stuck at 120 kilometers per hour. Windshield shattered into crimson spider webs under the full moon. It was 8:47 p.m. "Control is an illusion, son," his father had whispered with his last breath. Now, 30 years later, Edward felt the same helplessness crawl down his spine as the numbers danced like diabolical fireflies over the sleeping bodies. Chapter 2. The Pattern of Debts. In the public library, the smell of moldy paper clung to Edward as he scoured yellowed editions of the Herald Tribune. News of bizarre deaths leaped from the pages. 52-year-old woman dies with centenarian appearance. Executive ages decades in minutes. A pattern emerged. All victims had settled emotional debts hours before, forgiving enemies, donating inheritances, sending reconciliation letters. His fingers froze over a photo of the old woman's corpse. On her skeletal wrist, a pocket watch engraved, "To Sarah with eternal love." Edward tore off his own watch, Clara's gift, as if it burned. When he stood, his reflection flashed in the window. Above his forehead, red digits shimmered. Infinity. Air fled his lungs. Infinity? A guttural laugh echoed behind the shelves. Edward spun, finding only elongated shadows. "Steal hours to save her," hissed a metallic voice, like grinding gears. He sprinted to the hospital, taking stairs 2 at a time, and burst into Clara's room. The heart monitor drew steady green lines, but over her chest the number had changed. 1. The wall clock accelerated its ticking, becoming war drums. Outside the window, silhouettes of liquid metal twisted in the night fog. Chapter 3. In the attic of his childhood home, Edward rummaged through moth-eaten boxes when a school notebook slipped from his trembling fingers. On the cover, childlike scribbles, "Doo-Doo Vance, age 8. Yellowed pages revealed crayon drawings of clock monsters and a childish signature under the heading "Time Contract." Memories flooded him. On this same dusty floor, he'd sworn to a gear thing. He'd give anything to never lose someone again. "Promise?" the shadow voice had asked. "Promise," the boy replied, sketching a clock without hands. Now grown, Edward stared at the notebook like a death warrant. In the hospital corridor, he studied two targets. Dr. Raymond adjusting his gold watch while scolding a nurse, and Mrs. Elara, silver-haired volunteer, singing lullabies to a terminal child. The chronophage's voice hissed in his ear. 1 hour of hers, 30 years for you. Edward followed Mrs. Elara into the empty chapel. As she knelt to pray, her wristwatch, a gift from her late husband, swung like a hypnotic pendulum. "Forgive me," Edward murmured, reaching out. His fingers brushed the cold metal. A dry snap echoed through the silent nave. Chapter 4. The Price of an Hour. Mrs. Elara looked up, startled. "Edward, are you all right?" Her voice sounded hoarse, aged decades in seconds. Edward recoiled in horror as her skin wrinkled like crumpled paper, silver hair falling in clumps onto the marble. Bones cracked like dry twigs when she tried to rise. "What?" Her question died in a groan as her knees buckled. Edward rushed to help, but his hands found only a bundle of bones wrapped in parchment skin. The chapel's heart monitor shrieked. Nurses ran in, screaming at the centenarian corpse on the floor. Edward hid behind a pillar, nauseated. Back in Clara's room, Dr. Raymond examined her with disbelief. "Spontaneous remission? Never seen anything like it," he stammered. Clara smiled, color returning to her cheeks. "Daddy, I dreamed you took me whale watching." Edward hugged her, relief and guilt warring in his chest. Then he saw it in the window's reflection. Above his own face, the numbers now read 24H. When a nurse passed with a metal tray, he realized his reflection was gone. Only emptiness where his body should be. Chapter 5. The Time Agent. Edward locked himself in the hospital bathroom, staring into the mirror that showed no reflection. "Your eternity was the down payment," the chronophage's voice echoed from the faucets. "Now collect what's mine." Glimpses of temporal debts appeared over people. A mother marked -10 years for hours stolen caring for her sick child. A doctor with +300 years for lives saved. When he tried to touch Clara, tiny gears sprouted from his cuticles. "Don't touch me, sweetheart," he whispered, pulling away. At dawn, he wrote a letter detailing the truth, sealing it with his parents' pocket watch. Hearing footsteps, he hid. Dr. Raymond murmured into his phone, "Yes, the Elara case is inexplicable, but the Vance girl is cured. This'll make me famous." Above his head, red digits flashed, -50 years. The chronophage materialized as metallic mist. "He owes much. Take it." Edward felt his hands move against his will. When his fingers touched the doctor's gold watch, a scream tore the silence. Dr. Raymond hunched over, hair whitening instantly. Edward fled, but voices whispered from shadows, "I sign, I accept, I promise." Ghost children offering pacts. As he reached Clara's room, gears erupted from his chest, forming hand-like clock hands. Chapter 6. The Stopped Clock. Clara woke in the dawn light. "Daddy, why is it dark?" Edward retreated into shadows, gears retracting into his skin like cat claws. "You're free, little angel," he rasped, voice garbled by spinning cogs. Nurses entered, beaming. "Clara, you're discharged." The girl ran to hug Edward. At their touch, a shock jolted them. Clara's temples whitened. Edward shoved her away. "Never, never touch me," he stammered, seeing numbers dance over her. 62 years. "Why?" Clara wept, confused. He thrust the letter and pocket watch into her hands. "When you can read, open this." Outside, he watched Clara climb into the social worker's car, her small face pressed against the glass. The pocket watch in her lap showed 8:47, the exact hour her grandparents died. As the car vanished, gears encased Edward completely. Transformed into living metal, his last sight was infinite numbers floating over the sleeping city. "Everything has a price," the chronophage whispered through him. In her empty room, Clara opened the pocket watch. Inside, beyond the letter, a child's drawing showed a clockwork man embracing a girl, and a shaky signature, "With eternal love, Daddy."